Okay, so the tagline on the book says, build a business to last. And that's the first thing. We have to make up our mind that we want our business to last. In fact, we want our business to outlast us.
What if writing a book is not just a way to transform the lives of many people, but also a way to create financial freedom and leave a legacy? Wouldn't you want to find out just how to do that? Well, that's what this show is all about.
Hi, I'm Hennika Watkis, Porter, speaker, coach, author of Podcast Power, and the host of the Entrepreneurial You podcast, inviting you to listen to the Entrepreneur Secrets podcast, brought to you by C. Ruth Taylor, best-selling indie author and the Caribbean's most trusted voice on entrepreneurship. Tune in for inspiration, information, and innovation to write and win with books. Get ready to dominate entrepreneurship.
Greetings, entrepreneurs. Welcome to episode 49 of the Entrepreneur Secrets podcast. I'm your host, C. Ruth Taylor, and this is a show that gives you the roadmap to take charge of your publishing and the stories and strategies to dominate entrepreneurship. Coming up in today's show, we're going to be listening to an interview with Nerissa Golden of Montserrat. She was one of the favorites in our Caribbean Entrepreneur Summit last year as well as this year, and she'll be talking about principles from her new book, Start, Grow, Thrive, How to Build a Business to Last. So I'm sure you don't want to miss that interview segment. We have with us Nerissa Golden. Nerissa was here for the inaugural summit and she was one of our favorites, and we have her back this year. Nerissa is the founder and editor of Montserrat's top digital travel and information platform, Discover Montserrat. And she gave us the secrets to become a winning entrepreneur. She's a journalist and international speaker and author of 13 books, including The Making of a Caribbeanpreneur. And the focus for this year is on her book, Start, Grow, Thrive, Build a Business to Last. With more than 30 years in traditional and new media, Nerissa's company, Goldenmedia, develops communication strategies for multilateral agencies, nonprofit organizations, and governments to tell stories which influence change. Welcome to the summit, Nerissa.
Thank you for having me back, and just congratulations that you're here. We're here at year 2. This is amazing. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Your presentation last year really helped me to put myself in this position where I understand my value. And I just want to thank you for what you shared. And I'm looking forward to this conversation and how it will change lives.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So happy to be back with you. So let's dive in. Let's talk.
All right. So when I look on your LinkedIn profile, you call yourself a Caribbean storyteller. Take us back and tell us about your creative writing journey and how you got to this point.
I am pretty sure I can remember at the age of 5 reading books and chasing the library bus. And so I always knew that I wanted to have my name on a book. The first thing that ever was published was, I think I was about 9 or 10 on the island of Tortola. It was a small play. And so that really showed me that it was possible that my ideas could be on paper, but that other people would also like to read them as well. So over the years, especially my father's a minister. So in church, I would write plays and we would produce plays. So I was always creating things. Then eventually when I started a choir, I would write all the songs for the choir. So for me, it was always about using words to just express whatever I thought was necessary. And as I grew older, storytelling just became something that was essential for how I lived. And I saw stories in just about everything. I love, if you're sitting in an airport, I used to love to just imagine, where is that person going? What is their life like? And for me, it's a very powerful thing because I get to put words in people's mouths and create worlds and things like that. I remember at the age of about 12 or 13, my dad and I would sit in the morning and we'd watch the Today Show. Back then, Brian Gumbel was on it. And I said, I like that. I'd love to do that someday. And he said, well, you could do that. My dad has always been very positive. He's never said you can't, pretty much. So I never felt I had a limitation when it came to what was possible for me as a career. So when I graduated at 15, I worked for a garden center for a couple of years, but then an opportunity came up to read the news on the local TV channel, and actually here on St. Martin, where I am right now. And so I went and I got the job. And so my first hint of time in journalism was reading the nightly news. And that eventually spun into learning how to write news, because the local paper at the time headhunted me. They said, you're really good, but we'd love to teach you how to be a journalist. So, and I learned from some of the best writers, because St. Martin has this way of just drawing some of the best experts from the region. So I got to learn journalism from really hardcore journalists who worked for the BBC and all, sorts of organizations. So that was my first stint, in that. And then I found I loved the creative side of journalism. I didn't want to do any politics. So if it was education, it was entertainment, anything about people, the social side, that was me. And it just kind of evolved from there. I eventually went to school, studied communications, because again, I realized that it wasn't just about journalism. I loved the fact that we could use these different media to tell all these different stories. So the broader for me, the better. And I think that's what I've been able to do with my company is we use whatever platform is necessary at the time to tell the best story that's necessary, in that moment. So that's the short of it. I am still definitely in news. We develop our own media brands now. And I can't say I'm no longer don't like politics, because it's a big part of what we do, because of course as you grow, your influence grows as well. And so I have been honored to be able to have a voice, to be able to speak to leaders, share my opinion on how they're doing, but also have their respect and their feedback as well. So it's been a long path, but it's been good.
Awesome. Now, Golden Media is one of the sponsors for this summit. Talk to us about why you started your own company and help us to understand a little bit more about the width and breadth of Golden Media and what you do.
Golden Media is constantly evolving. I use the phrase Caribbean storyteller now because I think that's probably the best way to describe what we've done. Over the years, we've really focused on content creation because I recognize what was missing were our stories, where our people just weren't showing up. And so every time we were looking for somebody to bring in to speak at an event or whatever, we were finding all these foreign people from abroad. I mean, I don't have a problem with that because sometimes we do need those other voices, but I recognize that our own people had lots of value to give. And it was important that we learned the Caribbean version of how it worked, because sometimes when they come from abroad, they don't have our perspective. They don't understand the challenges when the power go out and there's no internet and the plane won't fly because there's a hurricane, and So when you have your own people who've been successful in your space and they could say, this is how I did it. And yes, I know that mindset. I know you're going to be afraid about how people are going to talk about you because they think you're better than them. All those things that we fight when we are trying to push ourselves ahead. I wanted to tell the stories of these people. So that's kind of how it evolved into a company. I've just always been using whatever I saw was a gap and just tried to fill it. So for me, like I talked about being involved in entertainment, and I had lots of filmmaker friends and they needed PR. So I started to do PR for filmmakers and artists and things like that. That's really how it began. And it's just evolved as I have also grown as an author as well. So suddenly I see there's a gap as well for me to help other authors, try to own their space and level up. Because again, it's a creative space that is very underfunded. I have had to leverage my other PR skills, my journalism skills now to bring in corporate clients to be able to fund those other fun parts of of my life that don't necessarily have the money yet. So the corporate pays for the creative side.
Wow, that is fascinating. And that was one of the things that stood out to me as I read Caribbeanpreneur, and why I feel so drawn to you, because we want to showcase Caribbean excellence and show people that our people can be role models, not just those who are from Europe or North America. And so I really like that. Now, your other expertise has to do with business. As you just mentioned, your other ventures help to sustain Goldenmedia. So talk to us about the latest book, Start, Grow, Thrive, how to build a business that lasts, because this is the Authorpreneur Summit. Essentially, we're saying we want authors to build profitable products and initiatives around their books. So talk to us about that book and how it differs from the making of the Caribbeanpreneur, because I really loved that one. So talk to us.
Well, here it is. This is the baby. Last year at the summit, I don't even think this book was in production, because at the time I told you I was writing a book, but it was completely different. I just wanted to write an updated Caribbeanpreneur book, kind of how to start a business, XYZ. And I did write it, but I didn't feel it needed to be released, because in the writing of it, I imagined this young man who was going through this journey. And I mentioned him briefly in that version. But I was like, you know what? There needs to be more. And I just happened to come across another book while I was, in limbo about what to do. And he wrote the book as fiction, and it just resonated with me. And I said, you know what, why don't I tell Kyle's story? And so this is actually a fiction book of Kyle's journey as a young man just finishing community college and without a job and not knowing what to do, and finding the resources around him to create something from what he already knew. And it actually tells his 5-year journey from start, growing to thriving, and the different things that he has to go through, and the mindset shifts that he has to work on, the obstacles, because it does happen in the middle of a pandemic, comes up. And so what are the things that he has to do to be able to navigate that as a young entrepreneur? It was a lot of fun to write. I ended up writing it in about a week. And because the story was there, and I just realized I just needed to shift the perspective, and really talk about this young man and just encourage him to keep going. So it was fun to do, and to stretch my imagination, because of course I'm thinking we are in the middle of a pandemic. How do you tell someone to start a business that this is a good time to expand the business, and that you can thrive? You can actually have a full business and a full life. It doesn't have to be this big trauma that we see so many people happening. So it also stretched me as well, trying to think, how much of this do you actually believe? Do you really think it's possible? And it was so much fun to write, and the feedback on it has been really exceptional.
Awesome. So that I am Kyle today because I'm starting a new business in a pandemic.
Right.
I started my academy last year in a pandemic. So help me and other authors who are starting businesses know, what are some of the principles that we need in order to grow and thrive at this time and for the next 5 years, as much as, just the key principles, since you are an experienced business coach.
Okay, so the tagline of the book says, build a business to last. And that's the first thing. We have to make up our mind that we want our business to last. In fact, we want our business to outlast us. And I think that's where a lot of us get misled, because often we are starting businesses out of crisis. We need a quick money in inflow, so we run out and we bake some cakes, or we wash some cars, or we start doing something, but we stay in that crisis mode every time. So every day we get up saying, okay, I need $50 today. What do I need to do to make $50? Or it's 500. Okay, what I need to do. And so we're forever just trying to patch the hole for the day. So that's the first thing. It doesn't matter what business you're in. You have to set up more intentionality about the end result. And it's really hard. I'm going to tell you, it's something that In the last few years, it's only now I've been able to say, okay, do I actually have a business that I think can outlast me? And what do I need to do to build that version of the business? So changing your mind about why you're starting the business is the first thing. If you're just doing it to solve a quick problem, you don't need to start a business. Just run out and do a big sale and then go back to work for somebody else. Starting a business is a commitment to yourself, to your future, to your customers, that you are going to be there for the long run and they can trust you. So that's really important. And then when you make a decision to last, you are going to make different decisions now. So then you begin to say, okay, well, this price is good for me now, but is it going to be good in 2 years if I got 20 more customers? And I need to now add rent and I need to add a staff member. So sometimes a lot of us start businesses that are just enough to pay us, but it doesn't even pay the taxes. It doesn't pay for us to be able to take a week off to go on holiday. So our pricing structure would change if we decided we were going to build a business that we wanted to last, a big business. Even if you're only ever going to get 3 employees, you still need to be able to pay taxes for everybody. You got to cover them when they go on holiday. You have to be able to go on holiday. And then also now let's think about the pandemic. If we all had a business that had a physical space that people needed to come into our store, when they locked down, all of a sudden we can't serve them anymore. So you now have to think about your business. Is there a digital version of this business that I can create? And so Kyle has to do that because he is starting with a very tangible product. He's learning, he knows how to make Johnny cakes and he wants to sell Johnny cakes, but then he gets locked down. How does he do it? So you got to read the book to figure out how he navigates that. But we all now have to think, oh, well, I do this thing over here, but is there a digital version of it I can create? Or what is a comparative service that I can offer in a different way? So we don't get the luxury anymore of saying, I'm just going to do this thing. You now have to have digital. In fact, I tell people to think digital first. Is there a digital version business that I can create that can move with me? One of my personal goals this year is to become location independent, meaning anywhere I am in the world, I can still serve my clients. I'm pretty close to that right now, but it's not as free as I want it to be. So you want to create a business that is going to be able to move with you. A lot of us too, when in the growing stage requires us to be more visible. So we have to now have more systems. Even if you're introvert and you say, oh, I don't like talking to people and I don't like this, you now have to figure out a different way that you are going to show up in the world. Your business is going to show up. And especially for Caribbean people, we do business with people we know. So you want to see your face, who's your mother, which village you're from, all those sorts of things. So we have to figure out how we are going to do that. And even if personally you're an introvert, you do need to then create someone in your business or give someone an opportunity to be the face of the business who you believe is going to be there for the long haul. You also now have to start putting more systems in place so that if you were to be sick, your clients are still being served. Just because you can't show up doesn't mean business stops for somebody else. You want to be able to go on holiday and know that all of your clients are still, that income is still coming in. So these are some of the elements involved in starting, growing, and then thriving, is that you can then go off and just do the thing that you love. If you want to now spend the rest of your life just giving to charities, volunteering in different places of the world, your income is still coming in because you have built a business, you've built a team, whether it's your family or it's just a company that you have built of loyal employees who believe in the vision and just want to carry it on. And these are things that are not common for many of us. When I was doing research for the book, and I tried to find how many Caribbean businesses were birthed in the region. A lot of the businesses that are still existing today that we see as family businesses were actually, from slave times, and the people who left and some family member kept it, but they were always from outside the region. So we don't have a lot of born and bred Caribbean businesses that have lasted beyond one generation, two generations. And I think if we begin to think more about, would this business outlast me? Can it outlast me? We would then have more clarity about where we want to go. And then we can also encourage the people that we hire. Say, hey, the plan is that this business is going to be here in 50 years or 100 years. I would love that you and your grandkids are going to be part of it still, because you have some shares in it, because you're helping us to evolve the brand. Maybe we're expanding to different islands. Having a long-term vision allows us then to really build a good story that we can now sell to our customers and sell to the community about how we want to make an impact. Thriving for me is about now not just me thriving, but my community thriving. So a lot of the things I'm doing now are thinking, what can I give back? So like sponsoring the summit is one of the ways that I'm looking at how I can leverage what I have to help somebody else grow, because it's important now for me to now start giving back versus just always being the one that's taking. That's a shift that also has to happen. And it doesn't happen if we are only ever in start mode. If we're only ever thinking about, how am I going to get enough to do the bills today? How am I going to get enough to do the next thing? I have to, when we shift our thinking, we're also going to shift the capacity that we have. And I also find that the minute I do that, then bigger opportunities come, because now I need more resources. And because I've created a bigger basket to be filled, all of a sudden, it's like you can get an opportunity now because you have something to do with it. A lot of us want to grow our businesses, but we still have very, very small ideas about how it can be, our own capacity, what we think we're worth. So it's important that we expand our own thinking, our own mindset around what we are capable of, so that then God can, bring more to us. Because she's ready. She can handle this. I could give her a $10,000 speaking gig. I can give her a $20,000, project, and she's going to handle it with ease. And that's what we're looking for.
Wow. Let the Entrepreneur Church say amen. Nerissa Golden, you've dropped a lot of golden nuggets on us, and I feel you were speaking directly to me and confirming things. I've always said that I wanted a business that I could work from home and work from anywhere. And COVID has, not just COVID, I started doing it before, but COVID has helped to push that. Another thing that personally, why I'm saying, you are just speaking to me and confirming the very things that God has placed in my heart. When I felt God was telling me to give up missions, my role, in 2012, I left in 2014. It was at a time when I started loving what I was doing, and I really got over the hump. And I kind of figured out how to do things. And I remember when I felt God was saying, leave. And in that instance, I always wanted to go overseas and live overseas and do missions. And I remember hearing the phrase in my head clearly, that your mission is not location specific, it's not subject to geography. And having a digital business and doing what I'm doing, and hearing you say that, and starting with the end in mind, building a business that will last. And just the points that you just said, this is day one of the summit. And if day one is all you got, you have gotten gold. In fact, it's more than gold. You've gotten diamond. This is stuff that you should pay lots of money for. So again, Nerissa, I'm so grateful that you're back with us, because that was a word from the Lord. And I know it's going to shift. It's going to shift and change my life tremendously, and shift and change the lives of those who just heard those nuggets. So everything on day one has just been strategic. How to thrive beyond the 9 to 5, how to thrive in your job, Raquel's presentation, How to Thrive Online, Javet's presentation about lessons for Caribbean entrepreneurs to thrive, and now your presentation, icing on the cake, because it is just speaking so much to where I'm at and where many of us are at right now. So thank you so much. Now, here's a big question. So you're a mother of 4 children. You are running a business. You're doing so many things. And right now, because of the pandemic, many of us, we have to homeschool. Everything is now home, and the work space is now home. How do you balance all of that? And what tips do you have for others who know maybe not balance? How do we maneuver doing so many things at the same time?
Well, I'll tell you, the blessing for me is that my children are now older. So it was easier. I no longer have to two of them drive. So during the pandemic, they could drive themselves to work or wherever they needed to go. So it was much easier for me. Last year in the summer, 3 of them actually left home and went off to the UK. So that was a big shift for us as a family, because we're always together. So it feels actually kind of like missing body parts. But for me, balance it's never an even scale. And because I predominantly worked at home for the last 7-8 years, for me, it's really about communicating with them. So they always know what's going on. I've always had an open door policy, which may not always be good, because it's depending on how you work, it can be quite distracting. So I had to learn after a while to close the door and say, could you give me some time to do something? Because they're very respectful of that. But other than that, it's open door policy 24/7. So I was always available to them. Motherhood always came first, then business, then unfortunately, even for me, my writing. I would say this year I am trying to shift that to put writing back at the top. Always motherhood there. It's not a give or take, but it's just that they're needing me differently now. My last daughter is finishing up high school this year, and she's going to go off. So I'm going to be an empty nester pretty much. So I am now having to relearn a lot of things because they don't need me in the way that they used to. So what do I do with my time? How do I actually build a new discipline to write more and to do different things? So this is really a big year for me, in that I don't know what's next. I've kind of said, okay, God, I have an idea of what I want to do. Like I said, I want to be more location independent. But what does that look like in the grand scheme of what he wants me to do? So I am just going to be focused on writing primarily, as he just opens whatever doors that he feels is necessary. I mean, that's always kind of been the way I've done business, is that he directs my path. So it's just to continue to do that. And I would say the tip for me on the balancing is that always make sure your children know you're available for them. Talk to them, say, hey, I need a half an hour, or I need this morning where you don't interrupt me so that I can get this thing done. And then you make yourself available afterwards to them. And you do whatever's necessary to make that happen. I think for your business as well, you now have to add more structure. I have had to at points say, okay, I do need to hire help. I can't keep trying to do this by myself. So it's been actually being more vulnerable and saying, I need help. Can you help me? That I think has helped me to balance things a bit better. I don't think I'm perfect at it, because I can get in my own zone, but I do try to stay open to what other people need, because a lot of what I do is just responding to the needs of others and being available to them.
Awesome. As we bring this interview to a close, Nerissa, can you tell us where can we find out more about you and what you do? Because I know, having heard all the gems you just dropped on us, that many of our viewers will be interested.
All right. So my website is nerissagolden.com. That is the one I think that you'll be able to connect to me on social. There's also the Truly Caribbean Academy, which is going through some rework right now, but there are lots of blog contents that you can learn from around entrepreneurship. There's also on marketing and publicity and even some stuff for book authors as well. So I'm looking forward to developing those this year, but nerissagolden.com is the home where you can find a list of all the books. The journals and the planners are out this year. I'm so excited about those as well. And I love talking to people and connecting with them on social. So go right ahead and just check me out. Thank you so much, Ruth, for having me again.
I trust that you enjoyed that interview with Nerissa and you got many golden nuggets from it.
I'm Tamara Francis, educator and editor. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and share the podcast with your network. If you'd like to increase your impact and income with books, visit authorpreneursecrets.com for more resources, including the books Pen It to Win It and Authorpreneur Secrets. Join the Authorpreneur Secrets Academy membership group for courses, coaching, and community support to write, publish, and win with books. Enrollment is in January and June each year. You may also sign up for one of Ruth's Publishing Made Easy courses or private coaching to write and publish your next book. Until next time, go pen it to win it.